Discover the heartwarming truth: a cowboy's daughter unveils the amazing beauty of an obese bride. The sun dipped low over Willow Creek, casting a golden glow across the sprawling ranches and rolling hills. Sadie Harper's heart raced as she stood at the edge of her family's land, the weight of legacy heavy on her shoulders. Only 27, she was the proud daughter of a hard-working cowboy, managing not just cattle but a lifelong dream passed down through generations. Loyalty, warmth, and acceptance rippled through the small town. Still, deep within, Sadie yearned for the kind of love she wished to see reflected in her community, but all that changed when Ella stumbled back into town, now navigating life as a plus-sized woman. A childhood friend turned stranger, Ella's self-conscious demeanor pierced through the familiar comforts of Willow Creek like a sudden storm. Whispers crackled through the air, the tight-knit community, forever quick to judge, placed Ella under the harsh spotlight of their standards. Sadie's heart tightened in response, torn between loyalty to her family and fierce love for a friend who deserved acceptance. Sadie recalled lazy childhood afternoons spent laughing and riding along sunlit trails, their carefree spirits unburdened by society's grim dictates. Now, as the town erupted in gossip, casting Ella in a dehumanizing light, the resolve that burned within Sadie ignited into a fierce determination. She couldn't stand idly by while her friend felt the sting of judgment. So, she proposed the Showcase of Hearts, an event designed to uplift the very voices often silenced by prejudice. Sadie poured her heart into the planning, hoping to create a safe haven where stories could shine brighter than appearances. Yet, the shadows of doubt loomed larger with each passing day. Townsfolk questioned her intentions, and barriers stood between ambition and execution, leaving her questioning if this was all worth it. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Tension hung thick in the air as the big night arrived. Sadie surveyed the auditorium filled with anxious faces, a wave of fear crashing over her. With uncertainty bubbling inside, she took the stage. The spotlight was blinding, but what burned brighter was her desire to unveil the truth about beauty, that it thrived in authenticity, kindness, and love. She began to share Ella's story, but before she could finish, a confrontation erupted from the back of the room, and the crowd fell silent. Hearts raced as the atmosphere crackled with anticipation. Would Sadie's courage be enough to sway an audience paralyzed by prejudice, or would their fears keep them shackled to their outdated beliefs? The stakes soared as the moment hung deliciously in the balance, leaving everyone on edge, desperate for resolution as the next chapter of their lives beckoned. Sadie's heart pounded in her chest as she stood there, frozen on the stage while whispers swirled around the auditorium like a storm. The eyes of the crowd were heavy, trained on her every move, and for a moment, the surrounding clamor faded into silence, punctuated only by her rapid breathing. It was Mark Thompson, the town's unofficial enforcer of standards, who had raised his hand to cut through her words. "What do you think you're doing, Harper?" he called out, his tone dripping with skepticism. "Is this some kind of joke? We all know how things work around here. Ella doesn't fit the mold, and you're just wasting our time." A wave of discomfort rippled through the audience, and Sadie felt her resolve flicker. She caught sight of Ella in the front row, her deep brown eyes wide and fearful. A quick glance exchanged, and Sadie recognized the silent plea for acceptance. That was all the encouragement she needed. "Mark, that's exactly the point," Sadie urged, her voice building with strength. "We're here to challenge what you believe is true. Beauty isn't about fitting into your narrow box. It's about authenticity, it's about love." Gasps filled the room, and murmurings began to bounce between faces. Sadie took a step forward, letting her heart guide her words. "Ellie has struggled with that beauty notion for too long. This night, we reveal the truth hidden behind judgments and expectations. Tonight is about connection and seeing each other beyond our superficial labels. The tension seemed to morph into something almost palpable, and as if a spark had been lit, some patrons nodded along, faces shifting from skepticism to curiosity. Even those who generally frowned at change felt their hearts slightly crack open, just a bit. "What do you want Ella to be?" she continued, her voice sharpening with purpose. "You can't just slap a label on her, some kind of less than brand. Don't we all deserve a chance to share our story without fear?" Mark shifted uncomfortably in his seat, sensing a crack in the wall of toxic conformity he defended so vehemently. From the corner, Ella rose slowly, her silhouette transformed in the dim light. Sadie's breath hitched. This was Ella's moment. She stepped forward, greeted by a mix of admiration and surprise from those who had judged her. "Everyone says beauty is the ultimate currency, right?" Ella began, her voice steady despite the tremor underneath. "But what if it means being real? What if it means loving ourselves fiercely and accepting our flaws instead of hiding behind a facade?" Sadie felt an electrifying rush, propelling her forward. The audience exchanged glances, their defenses faltering. It was then that she noticed a woman in the back, tears streaming down her cheeks. It was Mrs. Whitaker, the beloved librarian, an icon of tradition in Willow Creek. As she wiped her eyes, the murmurs grew louder. People leaned in, quietly captivated. Sadie's heart swelled with hope. Could they be reaching tiny cracks within the walls of prejudice that had long defined their community? "Thank you, Ella," Sadie said, her voice filled with warmth. "Let us shine a light on those real stories tonight, ones that have been hidden behind smiles and shame." A round of applause erupted, slowly at first, but then gaining volume and fervor. Sadie felt the tide turning, a collective acceptance beginning to sweep over the room. Yet, at the edge of the crowd, another shadow loomed. What if tonight isn't enough? Someone whispered from the back, bringing the energy back to an uncomfortable hush. Sadie glanced around as murmurs of concern rose again. What was next? Could they truly dismantle the fears entrenched in their community? She knew enough that they weren't just fighting for Ella, they were fighting for every soul who had ever felt unworthy. For a fleeting moment, she envisioned a new Willow Creek, a town built on love, acceptance, and the raw strength of individuals united. But would they have the courage to embrace change? With that thought, the stage felt both exhilarating and terrifying. The night was just beginning, and she sensed that soon, the real story would unfold. What awaited them beyond this moment? Would they unite and embrace the change they so desperately needed, or would they retreat back into the shadows of fear? Sadie stood at the center of the stage, feeling the weight of every gaze upon her. The atmosphere crackled with tension, a mix of hope and hesitation. Ella, her friend, who had just bared her soul, looked vulnerable yet empowered. Sadie couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the precipice of something transformative, but doubt still hung in the air like a dense fog. "Let us take a moment," she said, her voice steadying as she tried to capture the audience's attention once more. "Let South not leave this place without hearing more stories." She scanned the crowd, searching for any sign of willingness to share. There was a flicker in some faces, an eagerness to connect, even if it was buried under layers of skepticism. Who else has felt this kind of pressure? Who else feels judged for how they look or who they are? Sadie's heart raced as she waited. She felt like a pioneer, ready to blaze a trail through the dark, and then, in the corner, a figure rose. It was Paul, the local mechanic, his sturdy frame and grease-stained shirt a stark contrast to the polished crowd. He cleared his throat, and the noise diminished to a whisper as all eyes turned to him. "I've never liked how I look," he began, his voice low but tinged with emotion. "I'm not skinny. I don't dress nice, but that doesn't mean I'm not a good person. I work hard, I help my neighbors, and yet, I worry people only see me as less than." There was a ripple through the audience, a shared understanding. Sadie felt the moment swell, each confession peeling back walls of judgment. "Thank you, Paul," Sadie encouraged gently. Your story matters. We need more of this. Then, another voice chimed in, this time from the back. I hide my scars from my battle with cancer. I wish more people could see the strength that comes with fighting through, instead of just focusing on what's changed on the outside. I have family, love, and a life that means a lot. Can't that be beautiful too? Tears began to flow again, this time mixed with murmurs of solidarity. The auditorium felt more alive, more unified. Sadie could feel the wave of emotion building, a chorus of voices rising together, people no longer afraid to stand up for who they were. The applause that erupted afterward was different this time. It wasn't just acknowledgement, it was the catharsis of shared experience, a testament to their collective vulnerability. Yet amidst the claps, Sadie sensed a shadow lurking. There was Mark, growing tense again, arms crossed defiantly. His face was a mask of agitation. You're all just giving in to your pity parties. This place needs standards. What will you do? Live in a world where everyone celebrates their flaws? Sadie felt a chill spread through the audience, uncertainty flickered. Could they defend this newfound freedom? Mark, she started, voice firm but calm. You see flaws as something to be hidden, but tonight, we're celebrating them. Flaws can show resilience. They tell our stories. Do you really want a world where we all pretend and wear a mask? He opened his mouth to retort but paused, as if the words were stuck. The crowd murmured, many nodding in agreement. Would they rally around this new concept, or would fear pull them back into conformity? The tension in the room thickened as an unseen struggle loomed. Sadie felt her pulse quicken. Change was hesitant, like the first bloom after winter. Would they seize this moment? Or would fear win, and the crowd scatter back into silence? As the final applause rumbled, Sadie leaned closer to Ella, who beamed with hope. What if our stories become the spark for something big, something real? Ella nodded softly, but confusion lingered in her gaze. But what if it backfires? What if we lose? Sadie swallowed hard, uncertainty gnawing at her gut. They weren't just challenging old beliefs anymore. They were inviting everyone to join them on an untried path. And standing on that precipice brought both trepidation and exhilaration. The next question loomed, both daunting and thrilling. What kind of fight lay ahead? Would their courage ignite a movement, or would fear douse the flame before it could truly burn? As the applause faded, the echo lingered in Sadie's ears, almost as if it were a heartbeat, a promise of something greater. She looked around the room, still buzzing with energy. People were standing taller now, shoulders back, conversations breaking out like fireworks. Yet, amidst the celebration, a heavy silence fell over her as she turned her gaze back to Mark. He remained seated, stone-faced, as if fighting an internal battle of his own. Hey, Ella whispered, a hand resting on Sadie's arm. What if we move on? Let us keep it going. There was a spark in Ella's eyes, a growing belief that this could mean something. Sadie swallowed hard and nodded, but doubt still nagged at her. What if he's right? What if we're just, she hesitated, masking our flaws instead of facing them? Flaws can be beautiful, Ella replied, her tone fierce with resolve. Just like us. Together, right? Sadie murmured, feeling buoyed slightly by the strength in her friend's words. With a deep breath, she summoned more courage than she thought she had. Let us ask for one more story. Maybe more people want to share. Before she could speak, a quiet woman in the second row raised her hand. Sadie welcomed her with an inviting smile. I'm Vanessa, the woman began, her voice trembling yet sincere. I've struggled with my weight my entire life. It's hard, you know. People look at you and see a number on a scale instead of a person. But I love to paint, and painting saved me. When I'm creating, I forget about the weight. It's just me and the canvas. Sadie could see the light returning to Vanessa's eyes, a shimmer of hope shining through. People listened intently, some even leaning forward to catch every word. Art teaches me to see beauty differently. I've learned that beauty isn't just what we look like. It's in the moments we fill with love and joy. Vanessa's voice grew stronger, each word infused with the love she poured into her paintings. It's in my colors and brushstrokes, in the friendships I've made through art. It's the laughter, tears, and everything in between. I'm more than just my weight. The crowd erupted with applause, more heartfelt than ever. Sadie's chest swelled with pride. Each story was like pieces of a quilt, stitched together by threads of courage, hope, and vulnerability, but then, a mutter arose from the back. Mark still sat there, his expression one of growing disbelief. But that doesn't change the fact that we live in a world that judges. This is all just self-indulgence, he challenged, his voice cutting through the warmth of the moment. Sadie's heart raced again, her mouth drying up. Mark, what about the strength it takes to share these stories? She shot back, desperation creeping in but fueled by determination. Doesn't that have value? Isn't facing our struggles directly more powerful than pretending they don't exist? He hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty flashing across his face. The audience was on the edge, teetering between both perspectives. Would this night end in unity or division? Just then, an older gentleman rose. His hair was gray and his skin weathered, filled with the marks of age and experience. I'm James, he said, voice steady yet warm. All my life, I dealt with people dismissing me because of my past mistakes. At some point, I realized I had to stop apologizing for who I was. My scars tell a story. This is me, with all my messiness, and I still choose to show up. That's my truth, and if I can love it, why can't you? A ripple of admiration surged through the crowd. Sadie's heart soared, rallying around James's bravery. Hope surged in the air like wildfire, igniting something deep within everyone present, yet, just beyond that warmth, a chill of fear still clung to the edges of the room. Sadie could feel the tension beneath the surface as she scanned the crowd. Would they embrace this change, or would it all unravel? As the room began to buzz again, the energy palpable, Sadie turned to Ella. What if we set a goal? A way to keep this conversation alive, beyond tonight? Ella's eyes widened with excitement. What if we start a support group? Share our stories to empower us all. What if? Sadie's voice trailed off, their eyes locking in understanding. They were on the cusp of something big, but the way was uncharted. Would they rise together to forge ahead, or would the fears inside them hold them back? The tension around them wavered, ready to either transform into a burgeoning community or dissolve back into silence. Would anyone step forward next? Sadie stepped cautiously toward the microphone, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The bright lights illuminated her face, blinding her momentarily. For a fleeting moment, she wondered if she was about to make the biggest mistake of her life, but the thought of turning back was even scarier. All right, everyone, she called out, her voice steadying with each word. Let us take a leap together. If anyone feels moved to share, this is your time. Let us break down those walls, as James and Vanessa did. A hesitant silence followed, the air thick with a shared vulnerability. People shifted in their seats, exchanging glances, but no one moved. Sadie's heart sank slightly, she could feel Mark's judgment like a weight pressing down on her shoulders. Then, almost shyly, a teenage boy in the back row rose. I'll go, he said, his voice barely above a whisper but laced with bravery. I'm Liam. I don't usually speak up because, well, I'm bullied for my voice and how I look. But tonight, I feel different. I'm tired of hiding. I just want to be me. With that, a wave of support rushed through the audience. A few people clapped, some wiped away tears. Sadie felt a warmth wash over her, bolstered by the boy's courage. Liam continued, his confidence slowly growing, I love playing guitar. When I'm on stage, it feels like I've finally found where I belong. But off stage, it's like I'm invisible. I wish everyone could see the me that strums those strings with all my heart. Everyone listened, each strum he described resonating deeply. The boy's truth hung in the air, pure and raw. With every sentence, Sadie could see heads nodding, creating a gentle rhythm of solidarity. As he finished, applause filled the room once more, swelling like a tide. Sadie couldn't help but smile, a tear slipping down her cheek. But Mark's voice shot across the joy like a thunderclap. This is great and all, but what about the real issues? Is this just going to be a pity party? Where's the real change? Sadie felt her stomach knot. She admired the bravery in Liam, and she didn't want to let Mark's words spoil the moment. She took a breath. Mark, maybe these stories are the change. Maybe they inspire us to do more. In the second row, a woman raised her hand, her voice steady. I'm Sarah. I'm a single mom with 2 kids. I've been so hard on myself for not being perfect, for not making enough money, but what if my worth isn't tied to that? I just want to be the best version of myself for my kids. Her confession resonated through the room, a collective understanding hanging in the air. Applause erupted again, wild and chaotic. Sadie could feel hope swell once more, vibrant and alive, but within the applause, Mark remained still, arms crossed. So we just spin stories. Everyone's feelings matter, of course, but are we honestly facing what's real? He sounded worn down, yet a flicker of concern could be seen in his eyes. Then, a middle-aged woman stepped up. It's not just spinning stories, she asserted, her passion palpable. It's about belonging. It's about realizing we're all more than what we show on the surface. I've let fear dictate my choices for too long. She paused, drawing courage. And I refuse to let that happen anymore. Sadie couldn't help but feel the tremors of unsteady emotions in the room. Everyone was standing there, on the brink of something momentous. Would they truly gather up their collective fears, or would the weight of doubt hold them back? The crowd murmured among themselves, faces reflecting apprehension mingled with the thrill of newfound potential. Sadie felt her chest tighten. This was it. A chance to break free. Let us not stop here, she implored, glancing at Ella, then back to the crowd. We start this support group together, but we need everyone. Tonight can be just the beginning. What do you say? Would they grasp the chance to connect, or would fear tighten its grip once more? As she looked around, anticipation hung in the air like an invisible tether, unsure of what would come next. But in this moment, hope danced precariously on the brink. Would anyone else rise to join them? The tension in the room felt electric, a current of unsaid words and emotions swirling in the air. Sadie scanned the faces before her, searching for signs of movement. And then, almost as if on cue, a woman in her late 20s stood up. Her curly hair bounced as she moved, and despite her nervousness, there was a light in her eyes that shone bright. Hi, I'm Mia, she began, her voice trembling slightly. I've spent years feeling alone, thinking that nobody understands what it's like to be different. But today, I'm done hiding. I want to share my story. Sadie could sense a shift, the audience leaning in, curious. Mia took a deep breath, and the room fell silent again. I've been struggling with my weight for as long as I can remember. People see me and judge me for the size of my body, not the size of my heart. I have so much love to give, and I feel like it gets lost underneath all the assumptions. As she spoke, tears welled in her eyes. Sadie fought her own emotions, feeling every word resonate deep within her. When Mia continued, the vulnerability in her voice grew even more powerful. I long for acceptance, for friendship, for love. I'm tired of feeling like I have to change who I am to fit into society's perfect mold. Applause broke out, a heartfelt wave of compassion washing over Mia like a warm hug. Sadie felt the emotions rise within her, the stories weaving together into a tapestry of shared humanity. Each person in the room carried a burden, but here, in this small space, they were lifting a little of that weight off their shoulders. Then, from the back, a voice rang out firm yet echoing uncertainty. It was Mark again. This is all very touching, but is it enough? Sharing feelings won't fix the world out there, he argued, his skepticism digging into the softening hearts of the crowd. Sadie turned to face him, determination swelling within her. Mark, these stories are what humanizes us. We aren't just voices without faces, statistics without stories. When we connect on this level, we're building a community that can challenge the world together. Her voice, now robust, cut through the lingering doubt. Mia, still emboldened, added, it's not about fixing everything overnight. It's about taking the first step, right here, right now. If we learn to accept ourselves and each other, maybe we can start to face the bigger issues. Maybe we can change our world. The room buzzed with resolve, acceptance rippling through the crowd. Voices began to rise again, stories flowing like a river breaking free from the dam. One after the other, they poured out their truths: an elderly man revealing his battle with loneliness, a young woman discussing her anxiety, a couple sharing their struggles to build a family. Each word seemed to chip away at the walls Mark had erected. Sadie felt hope bloom, the air filled with a harmony of shared strength. Suddenly, Ella stood, her presence commanding attention. I think we all have our stories, but what's next, Sadie? Where do we go from here? There was a spark of excitement in her voice, an undercurrent of possibility. Sadie glanced back at the audience, their eyes shimmering with anticipation. We keep going. We form our group, and we create a safe space for everyone to share and grow. But we also take what we learn here into the world. As the crowd erupted into cheers, a wave of commitment washed over them. But just as Sadie felt on the brink of triumph, Mark's voice broke through again, laced with uncertainty. But what happens when the stories are told? When we have to face reality again? Sadie's heart raced. She knew Mark touched on something real, something that lingered beyond the walls of this room. Maybe, she said softly, together, we can face those realities too. One step at a time. And as his eyes met hers, Sadie wondered if she had just planted a seed of change in Mark's heart. But would he choose to nurture it? The flicker of hope in her chest burned brighter, igniting a sense of purpose that echoed through the room. What would they discover in the days ahead as they took on this challenge together? Would it be enough to ignite true change in their lives and the lives of others? The warmth from the gathering lingered in the air as everyone fueled their newfound connections with purpose. Sadie could sense the collective energy crackling, a promise of something bigger waiting just beyond the horizon. Mia's story had resonated, ruffled feathers, and awakened dormant spirits. As people began to break into small groups, sharing thoughts and ideas for their next steps, Sadie's heart swelled with pride. She watched as Mia animatedly conversed with another woman, whose anxious expression had melted into a smile. Mark loitered at the back, arms crossed, but he was no longer alone in his skepticism. Perhaps something had shifted within him too, even if he wasn't ready to admit it. Sadie. A voice brought her back to the moment. It was Ella, her face a mix of excitement and earnestness. Can we brainstorm how to get more people involved? This is just the beginning. Absolutely. Sadie agreed, her mind racing. We can start by using social media. That way, we can share the stories and invite others to join in the conversation. As they jotted down ideas, Sadie couldn't help but notice Mark sitting alone, a furrowed brow etched on his face. Without thinking, she walked over, a mix of determination and curiosity leading her. Hey, Mark, she said gently. What's on your mind? He looked up, a mixture of frustration and vulnerability crackling in his gaze. I don't understand how sharing our stories will lead to anything real. Stories don't change laws. Stories don't get people jobs. Sadie leaned against the wall, her heart racing with empathy. But stories make us human, she replied softly. They spark conversations, build bridges. One story at a time, we can lead a movement. Mark was silent for a moment, watching as two women nearby shared laughter over a past experience. You seriously believe that? Absolutely. It starts small, like a single candle lighting another. But we can't do it alone, she urged. He nodded slowly, absorbing her words. So we need to widen our reach then? Exactly. Let us amplify our voices. When we share our stories, it can inspire others to step out of their shadows. We're creating a ripple effect, Mark. That's how change happens, Sadie said, the light in her eyes brightening. A small smile tugged at the corners of his mouth. Maybe I could help with the outreach side of things. I've got some connections. I can help promote if you think it'll make a difference. Sadie felt a rush of gratitude. That would be huge, Mark. Thank you. She could see the walls around him starting to crack. Their conversation ignited a new fire within her. If Mark was willing to take a step, then perhaps others would too. They just needed to show that vulnerability was a weakness but a strength. As the crowd buzzed around them, talk of plans and hopes filled the room. Sadie took a deep breath, her resolve strengthening. She turned and scanned the faces of those who had, in just a short time, transformed from strangers into a community. It wasn't just a gathering anymore, it felt like the birth of a movement. Let us meet again next week, Ella called out, rallying the group. We can flesh out our plans and share more stories. Who knows, maybe we'll even find a way to expand into a local event. A cheer erupted, the air vibrating with excitement, but just as Sadie felt the joy bubbling over, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out to find an alarming message from her mother, a call for help about an unexpected family crisis that shook her to the core. Sadie's heart raced, anxiety creeping back in. She knew this was going to be a pivotal moment, one that could challenge everything she had built in this safe space. As she looked back at the group, her heart heavy but her spirit unyielding, could she balance the weight of family obligations while continuing to nurture this new community? Maybe, she whispered under her breath, the real test starts now. With that thought lingering in her mind, she took a deep breath. The journey ahead could transform not only her life but also the lives of everyone around her. Would she rise to the challenge? Sadie stepped outside, the cool evening air hitting her face like a splash of cold water. She needed a moment, just a moment to collect her thoughts. The vibrant energy of the gathering faded, replaced by her swirling worries. The message from her mother loomed over her, casting shadows on the light that had begun to spark within her. The sky was taking on hues of orange and purple, the sun slipping below the horizon. She took a deep breath and let it out slowly, grounding herself. Family came first, but in this moment, how could she keep her commitment to the community she felt so deeply about? For years, she had been the dependable one, the peacemaker in her family. And now, her mother had texted asking for help just as Sadie was finally stepping into her own power. The irony stung. A call to action had arrived, yet it waged war against her newfound resolve. Sadie. A voice broke through her thoughts, pulling her back to the present. It was Ella, her cheeks flushed from the excitement of the night. Are you okay? You seemed a bit distracted. Sadie forced a smile, pushing aside her uncertainty. Yeah, just thinking about everything, I guess. Ella's brow furrowed with concern. You know we can figure this out together, right? Whatever it is, we're all in this as a team. Her heart ached with gratitude. I know, and I appreciate that so much. It's just family stuff. Ella nodded knowingly. They both understood the push and pull of family obligations versus personal aspirations. You have to do what feels right for you, Sadie. Just remember, this community needs you, but you're not alone in this. You can find balance. Balance. The word echoed in Sadie's mind. Was that even possible? A mix of duty and passion felt daunting, but Ella's steady gaze offered a flicker of hope. Thank you, Ella, Sadie said, feeling a bit lighter. I'll work it out somehow. While their conversation continued, Sadie's mind drifted back to the group inside. She had felt their energy, their hope. It was invigorating. But now, the nagging worry about her family threatened to dim that light. If she left, who would carry the torch? Just then, Mark appeared beside her, rubbing the back of his neck, a hint of anxiety clinging to him as well. "Sadie, I was hoping we could talk about the next steps for the outreach." "Of course, Mark." She took a moment to notice the vulnerability he held, the same rawness she felt. This was an unexpected connection, a reminder that they were all navigating their own challenges. "I'd like to collaborate on a few strategies," he suggested. "Maybe we could partner with local businesses to share our message. If people see it's a community effort, it might mean more." Sadie felt the tension ease a bit. "That sounds like a great idea. We really could use that exposure." However, beneath the excitement of potential plans, the weight of her family crisis tugged at her heart. "Let's make a list of potential partners," she said, forcing her mind to focus. The distraction felt surprisingly refreshing. As they brainstormed, the night deepening around them, Sadie realized that while her family tugged at her heartstrings, this community was pulling at something deep inside her spirit. The meeting buzzed on, ideas swirling. With every word spoken, she felt the passion reignite, an ember ready to burst into flames. But just as she felt herself blending into the flow of excitement, her phone buzzed again, another message flashing across the screen. Sadie's breath hitched. What was it this time? Mark glanced over, concern flickering across his face. "Everything okay?" Her heart began to race again. I need to check this." As she read the new message, a sense of dread washed over her. It wasn't just her family now, it was about the past rekindling and the choices she had avoided for too long. In that moment, she realized the choice wasn't just about juggling her commitments, it was about embracing what she truly wanted for herself. Sadie looked at Mark, then at Ella, the weight of her decision hanging in the air. Was she prepared to face the truth about her past? And fight for her future? "Okay," she said finally, a new determination igniting within her. "Let's plan our next steps, because I have more to share than just ideas. It's time to reveal my truth, even if it costs me." As she took a breath to share her journey, it felt like the walls around her were starting to shift again. But would the truth bring them closer or push them apart? Sadie stood there, her heart racing with the weight of her intentions. The words were sitting on the tip of her tongue, ready to spill over, but a faint whisper of doubt nagged at her. She glanced at Mark and Ella, their eager faces filled with hope. In that moment, she realized she was not alone. Perhaps this was the perfect place to start unraveling the tangled threads of her life. "Okay, so," she began, her voice steady but soft. "I've been holding back a lot, not just from you, but from myself." She took a deep breath, letting the crisp evening air fill her lungs, grounding herself. "My family, there's more going on than what I let on. It's tough, and I've tried to be the glue for everyone. But sometimes, I wonder if that's really my responsibility." Mark leaned forward, concern etched on his forehead, while Ella stayed quiet, allowing Sadie to find her voice. "I got the message from my mom tonight. She's going through something, and she wants me home. The pressure to be there for her is crushing," Sadie said, feeling the words tumble out. "But every time I think about leaving, I realize how much this community has begun to mean to me. I don't want to abandon what I've started here, and part of me is terrified that if I go back, I might lose this spark, this fire I've found." Mark nodded, his eyes filled with understanding. "Family can be complicated," he admitted softly. "You love them, but it doesn't always mean you have to put their needs above your own." Ella chimed in, her tone encouraging. "Finding your path doesn't mean you're abandoning them. You can still be there for them, just in a different way. It's okay to prioritize your own dreams." Sadie's heart swelled. Their support was more than she had hoped for. "I guess what I'm really saying is, I want to find a way to manage both. To be there for my family but also pursue what makes me happy. I can't keep pushing my own feelings aside." "That's brave, Sadie," Mark said, admiration in his voice. "Embracing your truth can create unexpected paths." Sometimes, it's in our rawest moments that we find the strength we didn't know we had. Sadie smiled, feeling a flicker of hope ignite in her chest. You're right, she said, her enthusiasm building. We should channel this energy into our plans. If we can show this community the importance of balance between family and self-care, it could be life-changing for so many. Ella's eyes sparkled. Let us draft a community event. Something that bridges family ties and individual journeys. We can invite speakers, have workshops, make it a celebration of both. Suddenly, the ideas began flooding in, igniting a new spirit among them. Sadie felt light, carried on by the wave of creativity and collaboration. Their brainstorming continued late into the night, laughter and excitement mixing with the darkness surrounding them, yet, even amidst this budding joy, a thread of anxiety lingered. How would her family react if she stepped back from her role? And now that she'd opened up about her struggles, would they truly understand? Would they see her growth as an act of strength, not abandonment? Hours later, as the last of the meeting came to a close, Sadie's phone lit up again. She picked it up, her heart dropping as she read the screen. A new message from her mom rattled her, a plea that felt heavy with urgency. Sadie, please come home. I need you. The pull between two worlds pressed down on her, and she felt the urgency flood her veins. She opened her mouth, ready to share this with Mark and Ella, when doubts started to creep back in. What if by staying, she failed both her family and the community? Let us not lose momentum, Mark broke through the silence. What's next for us? Sadie looked at her friends, their unwavering support a constant light. Yet the shadow of her mother's message loomed larger. I think I need to think about what this message means. I know I wanted to share everything tonight, but maybe it's time to focus on what's really important right now. Would she be able to find the right timing to reconcile her past with the promise of her future? Okay, Sadie finally said, the weight of her decision pressing softly against her heart, but we need to keep this energy alive. For both of us. And just like that, a thought sharpened in her mind. She wouldn't just be fighting for herself. She would be fighting for them all, for every person stuck in their own balancing act. But would her journey of self-discovery bring her closer to the ones she loved, or tear her apart in the process? As the cool night air wrapped around them, Sadie couldn't shake the feeling that, whatever lay ahead, the real test was just beginning. The sun rose over Willow Creek, bathing the town in a soft, golden light. Sadie stood at the edge of her family's ranch, inhaling deeply as she felt the crisp morning air fill her lungs. Today felt different. A wave of change had swept through the town, and she was at the heart of it. The energy from the showcase of hearts had ignited a spirit of connection that was impossible to ignore. With her phone buzzing in her pocket reminding her of her mother's urgent plea, Sadie still felt the warmth of her community enveloping her. Ella had been an anchor through it all, her encouraging presence a constant reminder of the importance of balance between family and self. As Sadie walked toward the meeting spot for the support group, a determined glint flickered in her eye. She was ready to tackle everything. Inside the community center, familiar faces greeted her. The energy buzzed, laughter and murmurs blending into a hopeful symphony. Mark was already there, chatting animatedly with some attendees. He looked up, noticing her entrance, and offered a warm smile, one filled with newfound purpose, grounded in their shared commitment to create change. "Good morning, Sadie," he called. "You're just in time. We've got a packed agenda today." Sadie's heart soared. Here, amidst all the love and acceptance, she felt safe to be vulnerable, to share her journey, and to bring her community close in a way she had only ever dreamed of. As she took a seat, Ella quickly joined her, excitement bubbling in her voice. "You ready to inspire some more people today?" "I think so," Sadie replied, uncertainty lingering beneath her surface. "But I need to address some personal stuff first." "That's okay," Ella nodded, kindness radiating from her. "Whatever you need to share, we're here." Sadie cleared her throat, feeling the weight of her stories pressing on her heart. I received a message from my mother last night. She's going through a tough time and she needs me home. A hush fell over the room, the shared concern weaving through the crowd. I've always been the one to hold everything together. But, tears brimmed in her eyes. But I also want to be here, with all of you. I want to help change how we see each other. I found a part of myself that I didn't know was missing. Ella squeezed her hand, a gentle reminder of their bond. Mark nodded, his gaze unwavering. You're not abandoning your family, Sadie. You're simply learning how to find your own strength, he assured her. There was a collective exhale from the group like a weight had been lifted. But I feel guilty, Sadie confessed, her voice shaking. What if I can't be there for them and this community at the same time? Maybe it's about redefining what support looks like, a woman from the audience suggested, her voice confident yet empathetic. You can show love from afar, and it doesn't mean you care any less. Sadie felt a flicker of hope igniting once again. Maybe they were right. This community had shown her something powerful, that family wasn't just about being physically present but also about emotional connection. Taking a deep breath, she continued. I want to start a new initiative, a way to keep the conversation alive, to encourage others to share their stories too. This is about building bridges, not just for us, but for all the families whose members struggle with similar challenges. The applause that followed sent shivers down her spine. Renewed energy flowed through her, filling her with a warmth she knew was shared by everyone in the room. Together, they could break barriers, challenge judgments, and emerge stronger. As plans unfolded, people signed up to participate in workshops and panels showcasing personal journeys, an initiative that promised to break down walls and encourage vulnerability. What started as a dream was slowly transforming into a movement, a testament that love, in all its forms, would ultimately prevail. In that crowded room, laughter intertwined with tears, stories intermingled with hopes. The support group had blossomed into a family, one where Sadie no longer felt alone. They were all fighters, all dreamers. As the event wrapped up, Sadie's heart swelled with pride. Despite the rocky road ahead, they had taken the first steps toward a collective healing, towards an acceptance that thrived on authenticity. Looking at Ella and Mark, gratitude washed over her. This is just the beginning, isn't it? Absolutely. Ella beamed, her eyes sparkling. Together, we're unstoppable. With renewed determination, Sadie knew she would navigate her family's needs while also embracing her community. She could do both, hold space for each without sacrificing her self-worth. In that moment of realization, she was free to be Sadie, proud, powerful, and unapologetically herself, and as she stepped outside into the radiant afternoon sun, she knew that this journey would not just change her life, but it might just reshape the fabric of Willow Creek, one heart at a time. Now, dear friends, this is where you come in. You need to subscribe now because there are so many more incredible stories waiting to be shared. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like immediately to feed the algorithm and keep this journey alive. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this message of transformation. Your voice matters, and it's time to stand together. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming conclusion. Let's spread the love.